Now we're going to talk about another way of drawing in Photoshop, and that is using the vector drawing tools. Now, we discussed vector graphics versus pixel-based graphics earlier in the semester, and just a refresher, vector graphics can be resized without losing any quality, so they can get really large or really small, such as logos, etc., without having to worry about if they're going to become pixelated, etc. Now, when creating vector graphics in Photoshop, you're going to be using one of two different tools. The first tool is a new tool that you haven't used yet this semester, and that is the pen tool. The shortcut is P. The other tools we've used some, but not a whole lot, and those are the shape tools. So when you use the shape tools with the shortcut of U, or the pen tool with the shortcut of P, you're creating vector graphics. And each of these different tools are used for different reasons, will give you different results, and work completely differently. Now, when you use the pen tool, what it's going to do is allow you to draw using points and paths. So when I click here, I've created a point. When I make my second point, the path that appears between the 2 points allows me to either create a straight line if I hold down the Shift key, or if I click and drag, I can create a curve. Now, if I hold down my Alt key, what you're going to see is my tool changes when I come near one of these points. And these points that come off of this point that I created here, these two, are called handles. And the handles adjust the curvature of the path. Now, if I want to remove a handle, all I have to do is hold down my Alt key, and that removes one of the handles. So a couple of things to point out. When you're drawing your paths, when you want to close off your shape, you'll see the circle appears. That means you're enclosing the shape. This is now completely closed off. If you'll notice up here in the options bar, I have shape selected. You can have shape, path, or pixels selected. Those are the types of vectors you can create using the pen tool. I can fill this with any of these colors or patterns. I can stroke or outline my shape using this color palette, and the size of my stroke is right here. Right now it's set to 8 point, and I can go in and I can adjust that easily here by either dragging on the slider, or I can go in and I can enter a size using my keyboard. Next, I have the type of stroke options panel that opens. I can choose the types of corners I want. I can choose whether I want my stroke to be a dotted line, a dashed line, a solid line. I can open up more options, and this window appears, which allows me to go in and I can customize my dashed line here exactly how I want it to look. I'm going to select a dashed line. I am going to create a fairly large stroke. I can adjust my width and height of my shape here. Next, I have this drop down panel that allows me to say what kind of shape I'm going to use or create. And right now I have on a new layer, but if I wanted to create multiple shapes on the same layer, I would select the combine shapes, subtract front shape, intersect shape areas, or exclude overlapping shapes options, and that would allow me to create multiple shapes on the same area. When I have multiple shapes, I can also select merge shape components. Next to that are my alignment options, which should be familiar. We've seen these before. Next to that, I have my path arrangement, and that's just how I'm going to have my shapes arranged if I have multiple ones on a document. So let's say I put multiple shapes on the same layer. Which one do I want to be on top? Which one do I want to be on bottom, etc. Next to that are my settings, and rubber band is kind of nice. It means that before you create your second path as you're drawing, you get to see where your line is going to be. That's easily turned on or off just by checking or unchecking that box. Auto add or delete is when I'm creating my paths. Do I want to automatically add my various paths, or do I want to manually do so? And do I want to align my edges? And that's the options panel for the pen tool. Now I've got two different shapes created here. I'm going to select my move tool, and you can see that they're the same color. They have the same stroke, but they're in separate layers. Once again, when you're using the pen tool in shape mode, it's going to create each shape that you create on its own layer. Now, I'm going to switch to path, and you'll see that some of the options up here are grayed out because I have yet to create a path, but some of the options are the same, such as the multiple shape options. Notice that new layer is turned off. That is because when you're creating a path using the pen tool, you have to create the new layer yourself first, and then you draw your path. It does not automatically do that for you. Here's the alignment panel, the arrangement panel, once again the rubber band, and whether or not we want to auto add points to our path. So if I click, I don't have rubber band turned on, but if I hold down the shift key, we'll be guaranteed a straight line. When I release, you can see that I have a path that's been created. Now, if I hover over the end of my path down here, you'll see a minus sign appears. And that's because I can delete this point if I so wish. I can also add a point. Notice as I am hovering over my path, as I come down to my first point, you see a plus sign appears. And when the plus sign is there, all you have to do is click and a new point will appear. Now, when I come down to the very end, you'll see a circle appears. And once again, that's to create a closed path. Now, before we go any further, you need to go to Window and come down and open the Paths panel. And you'll see it's right here next to my layers. And you can see that I have a shape path that I've created here that's currently selected. Down here at the bottom of the panel, you see the trash can. You can create a new path. You can add a layer mask. You can make a path from a selection. You can load a path as a selection, which is what you would want to do if you use the pen tool to outline an object. You would load that path as a selection there. Up here in the Paths panel menu, you can see where you can save a path, duplicate a path, delete a path, make a selection, fill subpath, stroke subpath, make a clipping path. Let's look at the various panel options. That means you can adjust what your thumbnails look like. We'll make extra large thumbnails. Makes it a little bit easier to see what you've got. You can select to close Paths panel or to close a tab group. Once again, paths are the lines and curves between 2 points. And a path does not create a new shape layer or allow for fill. It's an empty outline, which you can then choose to fill. Paths are best used when you want to use pen tool to make a selection or create a clipping path, or if you want to make a resizable vector mask. They can be filled with color and patterns and stroked as we've demonstrated here. And a new layer is not automatically created when a path is created using the pen. You have to create a new layer yourself and then put your path on that layer. When you want to view your paths, you have to come to the Path panel and you're able to then see the paths you have created. Rubber band mode once again, is up here, and that allows you to see the paths prior to creating them as you are drawing them out. Now the third option, which is grayed out here, is the pixels option, and that's available in shape mode. So if we select a shape and I come up here, then I can select the pixels option. However, honestly, it is best if you are going to create a pixel shape to just create a regular shape instead, and then rasterize it if you need to apply filters, etc. For 13A, you're going to need to go to Chapter 13's Work Files, and you're going to begin with the Paths JPEG. So we're going to trace these out using the pen tool in shape mode. So go ahead and switch to shape mode. Because we're creating a shape, it will put it on its own layer. Now, to begin with, what you're going to do is you're going to click on the dot by number 1, come over to number 2, come down to 3, come over to 4, and then when you come up to 5 and you see the circle appear closing out the shape, you click that and your shape is recreated. You will need to make sure that you're stroking your shape at an 8-point stroke in a color that contrasts against the colors given here. Alright, so the next shape we're going to do is the square. Just click on the dots, and you'll want to hold down your shift key to make sure that you're getting nice straight lines, and close it out as well. Now the one down here, these get a little trickier because you're going to have to start clicking and dragging to get your curves to match. Going to click on number 1, come over, click and drag on 2, come over, click and drag on 2, come over to 3, come over, click and drag on 4. I'm going to have to convert this point here, holding my Alt key. That will convert this point to a corner. Come back, close this out on 1, and there we go. So for the bottom shape, it's a little trickier. We're going to be altering some of our handles and converting some of our points. So begin by clicking on the number 1, come up to number 2, click and drag out, and then hold down your Alt or Option key and drag that handlebar in. Next, come down, click on the number 3, drag straight down and over to just a little bit. Again, drag in that handlebar and release. Next, click up on number 4, drag over, hold down your Alt or Option key and drag in, come down to 5, click on the 5, drag, hold down your Alt or Option key, remove that handlebar, click on 6, drag, Alt or Option key, bring in the handle, click on the 6, drag, hold down the Alt or Option key, bring in that handlebar, and then click on number 7, drag it out, and then you can hit Escape. When you're through with this, you'll be saving it as 13A, your last name, _ paths. Leave it as a PSD. Make sure that you're placing it in the correct folder, and click Save. Now for 13B, what you're going to have to do is you're going to open the airplane image, and using the pen tool in path mode, you are going to outline the entire airplane. Now you only have to do the outer outline. You do not have to do the interior shapes. Remember to hold the Alt or Option key down if you need to remove some of those handlebars. And just come through and do your selection. When you're through, you will need to rename the path in the path panel, airplane, almost done. Get down here, we're going to enclose this path, and there we have it. And you can see over here in my paths panel my airplane shape. Now I'm going to double click on it, name it airplane, click OK, and now I'm going to save this as 13B, my last name, underscore airplane dot PSD, so it needs to be a Photoshop file. Make sure it's in your Chapter 13 folder and click Save. Now using the pen tool and the shape tools are extremely handy for creating shapes and infographics, for creating logos, etc. Photoshop is capable of doing those things. If you are going to be a graphic designer, however, you will learn to utilize the vector graphics program of Illustrator to handle most of these tasks.